Every morning at 7:15, David walked into the same small cafe on Maple Street. He was 42 with tired eyes and calloused hands from working double shifts at the warehouse. His daughter Emma was 12, and she was his entire world. Since his wife passed 3 years ago, it had been just the two of them figuring out life one day at a time. The cafe was his quiet moment before the chaos of the day began. That's where he first saw her. Sarah sat in the corner booth every morning looking like she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. She was maybe 35 with blonde hair that needed washing and clothes that had seen better days. She nursed a single cup of black coffee for hours, making it last. David noticed she never ordered food, just sat there staring out the rain-streaked window like she was looking for something she'd lost. One Thursday morning, David did something that surprised even himself. He ordered 2 breakfast sandwiches instead of one. He walked over to Sarah's table and placed one in front of her. She looked up startled with confusion and something like fear in her eyes. "I accidentally ordered 2. He lied gently. "Hate to see it go to waste." Sarah stared at the sandwich, then at him, her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered so quietly he almost didn't hear it. The next morning he did it again, and the morning after that. It became their routine. David would order 2 sandwiches, place one in front of Sarah, and sit at his own table nearby. They didn't talk much at first, just a nod of acknowledgement, a small smile of gratitude. But slowly over weeks, Sarah began to open up. She told him she'd lost her job 6 months ago, her apartment, her savings. Everything had fallen apart like dominoes. She was staying at a shelter, but most days she came to the cafe because it was warm and the owner let her sit as long as she wanted. David listened without judgment. He knew what it felt like when life knocked you down. He told her about Emma, about learning to braid hair and pack lunches, about being both mother and father, about the fear that kept him awake at night, wondering if he was enough. Sarah smiled at his stories. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her. "You're a good father," she said one morning. "Emma is lucky." Those words meant more to him than she could know. Months passed. Winter turned to spring. David kept buying breakfast. Sarah slowly seemed to find small pieces of herself again. She started looking for work, filling out applications at the library. She got her hair cut at a place that offered free services to people in need. There was light returning to her eyes. Then one Tuesday morning, everything changed. David walked into the cafe and froze. Sarah was there, but she wasn't alone. 4 men in dark suits stood around her booth. They looked completely out of place in the small neighborhood cafe. Behind them stood 2 lawyers David could tell by their expensive briefcases and the way they carried themselves. And at the table across from Sarah sat an older woman in her 60s wearing pearls and a navy dress that probably cost more than David made in a month. The entire cafe had gone quiet. Everyone was staring. Sarah saw David and her face transformed. She stood up quickly. "David," she called out, her voice strained somehow, both happy and nervous. He walked over slowly, his heart pounding. "David, this is Margaret," Sarah said, gesturing to the older woman. Margaret stood and extended her hand. Her grip was firm, her eyes sharp and assessing. "Mr. David," she said with a slight accent he couldn't place, "I've been looking for my daughter for 8 months. David's mind went blank. "Daughter." Sarah saw his confusion. "My real name is Catherine," she said quietly, "Catherine Montgomery." The name meant nothing to David. But Margaret continued. "My daughter had what you might call a break